guys, welcome back to the SBG New Braunfels podcast. I am Michael Hines, and I am the owner of SBG New Braunfels Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu School. And today I've got someone to talk to, and I will allow her to do the full introduction because sometimes I screw up her first name, admittedly. So, yeah.
My name's Kerstin Oleta, and I'm a Master Body and Language Strategist and CEO and founder of the Business Leadership Excellence Institute, where we help businesses and how they show up in their executive presentation, how they're presenting their business, and also how they're running their business, and also wanting to encourage women in leadership.
Right. That's all the things and we're going to go into that today. Just a short preamble on what I do. If you're unfamiliar, I run SBG New Braunfels Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu School. We teach kids and adults Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing. If that's what you're looking for, you should be able to find a link somewhere within this YouTube channel, no problem. But I'm going to turn things over to Kerstin. Tell me a little bit more about what you do and why you do it.
Well, it all stemmed from my background as a retired opera singer. So
Yeah. Okay, interesting.
You didn't know that, did you?
Didn't know that at all. Okay, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, so in my past life, in my beginnings of my career, I was professional opera, and I was also a music education teacher. So I taught choir and music during the day, and then I was professional opera singer at night.
Oh, interesting.
And then that rolled into, I had my own voice studio for many years, and for 30 years. And then I loved doing that. I had students performing at a very high level. We would do vocal competitions, and my students were ranking internationally. And I was also an international singing judge.
Okay.
So cool. Everything was very, very deep into the performance world, which I loved. And then I had someone approach me who had grown up as a performer, but was in the business world. And we sat down to have coffee. She's like, Kerstin, your skill that you have of being able to have this presence when you walk into the room and really being able to hold and command a room, right, of thousands and thousands of people as an opera singer is desperately needed in the business world.
That makes sense.
And to me, at that point, I was like, I don't even know what that looks like.
Sure.
No clue what that looks like. I said I got soccer moms lined up for me to work with their kids as a singer, but I wouldn't know how to get corporate business. So I started going out and networking, just playing with the idea, and I got business very quickly. So that that rung true to what she said was like, yes, the need is there. Sure. And when I sat down with my first client, it was just an immediate thing of, I could see everything I was teaching my singers was a one-to-one transfer of what business people need when they're presenting their business. Yeah. So starting from that first client, I developed body language strategy. So that's my signature system. And I was really looking for, what is it that makes a person look and feel, not just sound, but not just their message, but what makes them look and feel like a leader. Okay. And you should have seen my wall. I had just an entire wall of Post-it notes where I was keeping track of different things and kept honing it in. And I was starting to work with Fortune 500 companies. I worked with Google. I worked with eBay Global. So now I'm working with directors all over the world. So now I'm taking my Post-it note wall and I'm starting to flush it out internationally. Right. So what, not just what feels good locally as a leader, really what is a leader no matter where you're at in the world.
Very cool.
And I got it honed into 4 very specific things. Okay. And those became my body language success pillars. And so they're confidence, competence, trust, and approachability. Okay. And when you are exuding all 4 of those things, anytime you walk into a room, you're noticed immediately. And people will put the effort in to making sure they connect with you.
That makes sense.
Right. So, and then when you actually do say something, they're like, that buy-in is so much faster and they take it in deeper, they retain it at a higher level. So it was fascinating to me. to see, once I really started focusing in those 4 areas, my clients were just taking off in their businesses, right? Awesome. And in their roles. So I made it my signature system, and really found the byproduct of that is magnetizing. So that's where you stop chasing business, because you're not the one who has to walk in and go, okay, so what's going on here? But the second you walk into the room, there's that, who's that person?
Right, sure.
And instead of you going up and 10 minutes later after being in the room, everybody's like, oh, I didn't know you were here. When did you get here? Right? Sure, yeah. You don't want to be that person.
Yeah, totally.
That's not good for business.
Right.
So that natural magnetism that happens when you focus on those 4 things directly affects the bottom line of your business.
Makes absolute sense to me. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's where that all started. And then I've actually owned multiple businesses. A lot of people don't know I owned a hot sauce business also.
A hot sauce business?
I did.
Oh, really? Okay. Oh, interesting. Huh.
Yeah, that was a fun adventure. So now I also understand distribution and, oh my gosh, and product and all those things. Yeah.
I kind of have like a little thing that I want my daughter to like. I mean, I'll just probably have her run parts of my business here before she ever goes to like university. I want her to do that because I think like it'll give her a lot more focus. I didn't really start running a business until, I guess, what was it? I was about 40, So it's like, and it was very eye-opening.
Oh, yeah.
Experience. Even if like you start a venture and it doesn't reach, what does completion here mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because the dissolution of business doesn't necessarily, people presume failure from that, but I don't. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it could just mean it's just not something you want to do anymore. Like, but the learning about the other side of business instead of just working for people, like working for yourself, you learn. It's incredibly eye-opening. Well,
and I think you learn, I totally agree with that. And I think you learn how to spot opportunities better.
Yes.
Right? It shifts that perspective quite a bit. It shifts their perspective of how you use your time because you're not just clocking in and clocking out.
Right. Yeah.
So you really have to learn how to be intentional with your time. So there's so many great life skills that happen when you become an entrepreneur. Sure. And I always say entrepreneurship is a full body contact sport.
Right, yeah. That's pretty fair. That is pretty fair. Yeah.
Not just what you do here, just being an entrepreneur.
No. It's not incorrect. Yeah. I totally agree. Yeah. No, that's interesting. So, I have a lot of different people that come to jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, what we do here. It's not, the closest I could get to a demographic is like, maybe somewhere between 5 to 10% of adults will be veterans. That's about as close you get to like an identifiable demographic. Because I have people, I've got business owners, I've got professionals, I've got people that just, do this very fundamental work, like work as a waiter or something, like just, they're not necessarily entrepreneurial, but I do have entrepreneurs. I have all these different things. How could various people, because it is a broad collection of people in my gym, make use of your services?
So the beauty of body language strategy is it works in everything, right? Because it's a relationship factor.
Sure.
In business, we're creating relationships as we're doing collaborations or gaining more clients. But it's really when you learn to walk into a room, and I know you see this with what you do here all the time. When you walk into a room with confidence, it changes every conversation.
100%.
Right? Yeah. When people understand, what you're talking about, and they get it like that, that changes your opportunities.
Sure.
Good. When people know they can trust you, right, that changes your life.
Yeah.
And when you know what feels and looks, and you show up approachable, that changes the depths of your relationships. Right.
All makes sense.
Right. So it's amazing for business, but it's really fantastic for your life. So, most people that hire me are business people.
Sure.
But I do have online courses that people can tap into to say, okay, I have a hard time in these conversations. And actually, this is great timing because I was talking with someone yesterday who's done some work with me, and she had to get into a really, I call it crunchy crunchy conversation. It was a personal conversation. And she goes, Kerstin, she goes, I swear, I knew I had to just really think about all the things that we've worked on. And she goes, I thought about, okay, how would Kerstin sit having this conversation, right?
Sure, yeah.
And she goes, it really changed not just the conversation, but how I felt about having the conversation.
Okay.
Because I felt like it really helped me to feel like I knew what I wanted to say. I didn't second guess myself. And it changed how much I was going to let the other person's response, throw me off kilter.
Sure.
All of a sudden, part, I wasn't as worried about that.
Makes total sense.
Because now I knew, I was able to step into who I am and who I am in this conversation and just let the rest of it be a natural outcome.
Yeah. All that checks for me. Makes total sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. Because I have guys sometimes when I'll do teaching courses for teaching jiu-jitsu, but I've had guys take the course just because they don't necessarily ever want to teach a class. They just wanted to kind of learn some teaching skills to improve their public speaking.
Yes.
And their public speaking persona, kind of, and just to develop some of that, and to not be they just want to run the warm-ups. They don't want to run a class or something like that. So yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think I mentioned that before, but I taught rhetoric basically for a decade as a graduate school professor, and just taught public speaking. And yeah, I think, people are just deathly afraid of it.
I know.
They're just deathly afraid.
It's the number one fear. Well, okay, technically it's the second, but it's attached to the number one fear of humans, which is just the fear of the unknown.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And we have that unknown factor of like, okay, how are people going to receive what I have to say? Which then taps into how are they going to feel about me, right?
Sure.
That whole thing. Once you get past, again, once you get all four of those, I feel confident.
Sure.
I know how to exude and express my competence. I know how to create trust. I know I'm approachable. Then that outcome doesn't feel like an unknown because you're already secure where you're at.
That totally tracks with everything I've ever worked with. Yeah, it makes total sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So it shifts the energy of when you're up in front of everybody. And I had my cousin ask me once, because I'm up in front of hundreds or thousands of people talking. And she's like, man, when you get up there, do you just feel like this super power surge? And I said, no, I don't, because I'm so focused on the connection with my audience.
Sure.
Of making sure, I want them to take all this information that I'm handing over to them, and I want to connect that to who they are.
Sure.
That the focus is not it's the Kerstin show now, right?
Yeah. Getting
Aren't I great?
Narcissistic supply or
Exactly.
something. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's not about that. And because and that gives me, as a public speaker, as a professional keynote speaker, now I can tailor what I'm saying to what the audience needs because I stay in connection with them. Now I'm able, if I'm not feeling a certain response to, if I'm walking into a room and it's all martial arts instructors, confidence is pretty much a given.
Sure.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
So maybe not necessarily needing to spend as much time on confidence. Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and not talk about it. Right. But now I can see like, okay, let's get through the confidence part pretty quick. Just touch that base. But let's talk about competence.
That makes sense.
Are they really exuding the competence? And so when I'm in that focused space of connection as a speaker, now I can deliver at a higher level of what my actual audience needs.
That makes total sense. Yeah, makes total sense to me. Kerstin, how do we, I'm going to put links underneath everything in the YouTube file, but if someone were just like, they want to find your work, they want to find how to engage you, how would they do that? Talk me through it.
So the easiest way is to go to my website. It's www.bleinstitute.com. And then if you want to contact me personally and have a conversation, you can go to Meet the Founder or About the Founder. And then that's got all different ways. You can set up a phone call with me, a Zoom call. You can go and look through we have 3 different divisions in the BLE Institute. And so we have Body Language Strategy Academy. That's the course base. I do business strategy.
Okay.
So that's what we do in the Business Leadership Success Academy. And I have a system that I also built when I was working with business owners and leaders all around the world of what's the best way to set up the design of how you're running the business to also run your teams and make sure you're getting agreement success of why everybody's there. Make sure you have the organizational success. How are we organizing everybody working together and what we need to get done for this project or goal. And then this is the one I find most systems forget. It's like, oh, okay, we accomplished. Okay, we're done. We're going to go back to the beginning. No, you have to make sure you get your member success in place too. Okay. Right? You got to make sure you're really edifying your team and finding ways to show that they feel they've accomplished, not just the bottom line accomplishment. Right. Yeah, and then how that feeds. So it's called the executive management wheel. Okay. And then I also have the third division is the Women's Leadership Coalition. That's my passion project. Okay. So we have a monthly meeting. It's called the International Collective. We have women from all over the country and actually other countries too. So it's international. And we get together once a month. And I do some abundance trainings for women in leadership because women tend to focus more on abundance in their accomplishments. Okay. Where men, and I'm just saying this is in general, right? Very much in general. Offended, but yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine. And men tend to go more with the what's the bottom line.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Right. Now, I'm not saying they don't cover the same basis, but the focus tends to be different. So I do leadership training, and then we have a spotlight speaker who's one of our members, and we let the women connect at the end and do some breakout rooms, and it's been fantastic. Just amazing collaborations and connections there too.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, hey, thank you for coming on today.
Absolutely.
It was great talking with you, and we'll get this online real quick. So
I appreciate being here.
Yep.